I'm feeling really sick at the time of this recording, but I have to talk about this headphone. Hello and thank you for clicking on this video. I'll be talking about a wireless closed back planar magnetic, yes you heard me right, wireless headphone. When I first heard about it, I was like, I have to listen to this and see how it sounds. This is Edifier's Stax Spirit S3, which is a $400 closed back planar magnetic wireless headphone. I know I'm repeating, but all those words did not make sense in one sentence before until today. So let's talk about it, but before I do, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Edifier for providing this unit in exchange for my honest feedback. However, as always, all thoughts and opinions are my own. If you'd like to check out more information about this product, links will be in the description down below. Now that's all out of the way, let's talk accessories. If you've seen my shorts on the WH700NB, the unboxing experience was a little lackluster. So coming from that, this is a huge improvement with its own box within a box and the Stax Spirit name on it. Opening the box reveals the case and also two pouches which stores the interchangeable ear pads. These ear pads supposedly has a cooling gel in them, so if you find wearing the stock pads a little too hot on your ears, you can replace them with these, which I think will be great for summer use. In terms of replacing the ear pads, the headphones uses a simple clip system where you're just unclipping the ones you don't want and put the pads you want and click them back in. Easy. The carrying case is relatively compact considering the size of this headphone. It has its name on the case and it looks rather simple and sleek with its design, and it feels rather sturdy. However, your headphones will have to be folded all the time to fit this case, which isn't much of an issue. It also comes with a few additional accessories such as a 3.5 to 6.4mm adapter, a pick which I'm assuming is to unlatch your pads, which I found it to be easier to just gently pull the ear pads off instead. Your preferences may vary, and it comes with a USB to USB-C cable and a 3.5 to 3.5mm cable. More on that later. As for the design of the headphones themselves, there's something basic associated with these type of headphone designs. From afar, if I'm just looking at this side by side with the WH700NB, they look almost identical. The subtle touches added to the Stax S3, like the carbon fiber look, helps differentiate between the two, and when you're actually holding them and looking at them up close, the Stax S3 looks and feels a lot more premium than the WH700NB, but I guess I was expecting it to have a little bit more flair, something that deviates from the conventional headphone design, because unless someone listens to the Stax S3, they wouldn't know how much better it is compared to the competition, when the looks isn't eye-catching. However, if that's what you want, a low-profile looking headphone that looks generic but sounds a cut above the competition, then maybe this look might suit your preference. For fit and comfort, bringing in Manny. Get it? Manny the mannequin. Okay, fine, moving on. I know Manny doesn't have a conventional head compared to a normal human being, but this is just to get a gist on how this headphone would look on your head. The ear pads was big enough that it wraps outside of my ears instead of pressing on it. There's sufficient padding at the top of the headband to give you some cushioning, being 329 grams, which is a touch heavier than my Sennheiser Momentum 4, but I honestly didn't feel the weight as I was testing it. Look at how happy Manny is upgrading from the WH700NB. Now let's talk features. Let's start with the things I love about this headphone, and then we'll talk about things that I wish it could be improved. This headphone has a total of 80 hours of battery life. Yes, you heard me, 80. To put that into context, that's 3.5 days of non-stop listening, and if you only listen to about 8 hours of content a day, that's still 10 days of usage. And because I'm always charging my gear weekly, I don't seem to be running into a problem, but simply amazing battery life. This headphone also supports Snapdragon Sound. However, with Snapdragon Sound, something to note is that it needs to be compatible with devices that support it. So for my phone in particular, it supports it, which is great. It helps maximize the sound potential of this headphone, but if you don't have it, then you're simply using basic audio codec, which is a much lower resolution, which then limits the headphone's sound. So this headphone does not have ANC, which to a lot of people can be a huge deal breaker. Me personally, I typically turn off ANC because I like some ambient noise, which these do provide ever so slightly. Not having ANC isn't a deal breaker for me personally. However, in their next iteration, with so much battery life, I'm sure they could sacrifice a portion of it to include ANC, and it'll help appeal to the general masses. This headphone also uses buttons for controls instead of touch controls. Again, like the ANC isn't a huge deal breaker for me. I've used both touch controls and physical buttons, and from experience, physical buttons are harder to make mistakes and is less buggy than touch controls, but to each their own. However, I'll release a shorts video covering all the physical button features. Also, just testing the mic quality as well. This is a mic test from the Edifier Stax Spirit S3, testing to see how it sounds. So this is what your callers will be listening to. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Before we talk about sound, let's explore the things that I wish could have been improved. The Edifier Connect software needs a lot of work in my humble opinion. Check out my shorts comparing the Edifier Connect to something like the Soundpeach software, but essentially the Edifier Connect comes with 3 main pages. First page toggling between the different ear pads, which I assume they tweak the sound ever so slightly to suit. The second page that comes with 3 EQ presets, and the third page allowing you to turn off or on game mode. And that's it. No customizable EQ setting, which I feel is something at this day and age is key to one's experience. I'm honestly willing to trade game mode on or off for customizable EQ settings if I could, and I really hope this is something Edifier works on for their future audio products, because I don't see the app doing anything other than being a marketing platform for their products rather than being a dedicated audio software. Talking about connectivity, if you want to charge this headphone, you need to insert via the USB-C port, and if you want to use this headphone on your desktop setup, you have to plug it in via the 3.5mm jack. And you have to manually turn the headphones on. You can't listen to the headphone while it's charging, you can't listen to the headphone via USB-C connection, and if you're wondering why there's no sound from the 3.5mm jack, chances are you forgot to turn the headphones on. Also, there's no detection, so if you have to take your headphones off but you forgot to press pause, the music will continue playing and it'll keep on eating the battery life as it goes. If you didn't shut it off, it'll just stay on as long as it's connected to your device. So I wish it had some hit detection, or it goes into standby mode or something when there's no media playing to conserve some battery life, but there's more than plenty to spare. But as an overall experience, I feel in terms of ease of use of this headphone is where it's lacking a little bit, and I hope the next iterations can improve on these, because what I'm about to describe next makes this headphone. The sound. I'll be describing the sound based on the wireless setting because that's the reason why anyone would want to purchase this headphone. So Audeze, which is a company famous for the LCD series of headphones, licensed its patented technology to Edifier to use in the Stax Spirit S3. And if you are wondering why Stax sounds familiar, they're best known in the audiophile community for their electrostatic and electret headphones. So with sugar and spice and everything nice all mixed together in a pot, do you get a Powerpuff Girls of sounds? Let's start with bass. For bass, this is a headphone that is definitely not for bass hits. The bass is lacking that slam and impact that'll keep you engaged. You can hear the weight and fullness of the note, but it's further away from you, so it's almost like I wanted to call for that bass to come closer so I can feel it. Just pound me, bass note. But that didn't happen with the Spirit S3. The attack on the notes are on the slower side as well, which is surprising because Planar tech is known for their speed. However, on the Spirit S3, it sounded more like a dynamic driver rather than a planar. It's also lacking a little bit of that rumble coming in from the deep end. All in all, I wish there was more engagement. I wish EQ existed so I could boost up the bass a little bit, but at least where this area is lacking helps pave the way for other frequencies to shine through. For midrange, I actually love how the midrange is presented here. Vocals take center stage and it's still the focus of the track, but the background music is ever so present and it makes itself known without overwhelming the vocals. It's doing what it's supposed to do, be the accompaniment to the singer, and for the Spirit S3, it does just that. The vocals don't sound too lean, it's still got a little bit of that fullness, a little bit of that warmth despite not having all that bass. The overall presentation is on the forward side but still not too close to you. Nothing more I need to say here, really enjoying the presentation on the Stax Spirit S3. For treble, there's a lot of air given to this headphone. The boost in the treble regions doesn't make this headphone sound harsh or sibilant, at least for me personally. However, if the regions in the treble extensions bother you, I feel this headphone may be a little bit too much for you. For me personally, vocals sounded open and clear, trumpets have that airiness to their note quality, their attacks are sharp and distinct, cymbals, hi-hats, they've got that crispness to their sound. Depending on which setting you decide to go with, vocals can sound a little bit thin, more on that later, but all in all, if you enjoy treble, the Stax Spirit S3 has plenty. For technicalities, if there's one word I can use for this headphone, is that this headphone is revealing. What I mean by that is that if you have a badly recorded track, there's this audible hiss or room static that you can hear, which could be a detriment to this headphone because when you have a good recorded track, it sounds great, but when it's poorly recorded, the Spirit S3 picks it up and it can take away the focus from the track. So I'd say this headphone is very unforgiving to poorly recorded tracks. I'm not sure if all that treble extension is what's opening the sound to the point you hear anything and everything, but if you ever want to listen to your own mix to determine whether there are any flaws, this headphone could be of use. Imaging on this headphone is just great, details are sharp and present, they don't overwhelm each other, there's enough space and separation between sounds. This headphone can handle very busy tracks no problem. The soundstage is not overly wide, but with how the details are presented, it gives you a soundstage with a lot of depth and it feels like it's going around your head. This is where Planar tech does best, and I feel the Stax Spirit S3 uses it to its fullest capacity in this region. So everything I described earlier was on the classic setting. There's also Stax and hi-fi setting, which I personally didn't prefer as it made the sound a bit too thin for my liking, but it does open the sound a little bit more at the cost of that fullness. The classic setting had a bit more warmth in comparison, voices sounded a little bit more full, and honestly I picked this setting over others any day of the week, and it helps make this headphone shine. For power, so if you do decide to use this headphone via the 3.5mm jack, connecting using the 6.4mm adapter, on my HiFiMan EHab 400 I'm getting to about 12 o'clock on the dial, which is pretty much the same as driving other planar headphones. So to sum it all up, I feel the Stax Spirit S3 could have been an absolute slam dunk if it wasn't limited by some of the features that are available elsewhere in other wireless headphones. I hope Edifier works on their app or introduce some of the features in their next iteration of this headphone, because they've got something here. A great sounding headphone with a lot of battery life, and it can only get better. Edifier did what HiFiMan couldn't do with their Deva Pro, which was make a portable planar magnetic headphone that you could bring anywhere, but whether it will replace my daily driver, the Sennheiser Momentum 4, that'll be a conversation for another video. So until then, let me know what's the most important feature to have on a Bluetooth headphone. Is it sound quality, battery life, in-app customization, ANC? Let me know in the comment section down below, and with that all said, thank you again to Edifier and to all of you for watching. Until the next experience, take care and happy listening.